Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and a doctoral student of psychology. Let's talk about why avoidants pull back when things get serious. There are plenty of reasons, and a lot of them are not even bad reasons. A lot of them are not. In fact, most of them are, I think, good reasons, like they like you, or love you, but it just sometimes they have a trigger. And I think that's why we need to talk about those things. I have plenty of videos on how to manage those triggers, but today I just want to talk about why this happens. It's more informational purposes rather than instructional, okay? So it's for awareness. The first one is that they are overwhelmed with their feelings for you. This one's tricky because you really can't do anything about it because it has nothing to do with what you're doing. And I think a lot of times people, when they watch these videos, they want to look for what can I do? What can I do to make them not feel triggered? Well, they have to process their triggers in order to get better. Like they have to. And it's not that all the time that this happens they're going to break up with you. I think people believe that if they're feeling overwhelmed, it means potentially they're going to break up with you. It's not always the case. It could just mean that they're distant temporarily until they get more readjusted with this feeling. So they're overwhelmed with the feelings. What they're going to do after that, I don't know, but it does depend on a couple other factors as well, which could be how you react. And so if they're feeling a little bit distant, give them time. And then if it's too much, have a conversation. Ask them if there's anything wrong, if there's something that you guys can do together to make it a little easier on either side, okay? The next one is they feel pressure to give you more. This one is an easy fix, but it's annoying because you might not know they're feeling this way because it's not something you're doing. But if they feel like they allude to it or they say it or something of that nature, mention that you're not asking for more. Just because you guys are more serious doesn't mean you're asking for more. Things are not going to change. And the interesting part is if you're able to comfort that and allow them to take a little bit more time, they will be okay with giving you more over time, just not now. And that's where the fear and pressure really comes from. So let's give an example so that you guys can kind of understand what I'm talking about. It's illustrated a little bit more clearly. Let's say you guys have been in a relationship for under a year. This is usually when this stuff happens. It's usually before the year mark, depending, okay? They might start feeling a little bit pressure to label the relationship, to be more serious, maybe to have conversations of possibly getting married in a couple years, and they don't even know if they want to get married ever, right? And so they're starting to feel that pressure. And they might say things like, all women want is marriage. All men want is to control women. They'll start saying these really negative terms. And at that point, that's an example. It doesn't always mean it starts that way. You can stop them and say, where is this coming from? I'm not pressuring you to get married, or I'm not trying to control you. What's happening? Are you feeling pressure? Because I'm not trying to be that way. You can mention, is there something I'm doing? And they might say, well, I just, that's just the way you guys are. That's the way women are. That's the way men are. That's the way people are, et cetera. And you can say, I get that, but, respectfully, I'm not like that. And I feel like that's judgmental of you because you don't know me that well, and you don't have the right to talk that way about me when I haven't showed you that. You can ask anybody in my life. I'm not like that. ABC, right? You have to stand up for yourself depending on who you are, your personality, and the rapport that you guys have. But when they are explaining to you or telling you that you are pressuring them when you are not, that is disrespectful. And just because it's a trigger doesn't mean that you can't ask for respect. In fact, you should ask for respect regardless of why they're doing it, right? And so it's really important to set that boundary. Yes, they're pressured, they're triggered, whatever that is, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to, if you're not pressuring them, it's not fair that they're reacting to something you didn't do. That is absolutely, that's disrespectful, and I don't like stuff like that. So maybe I'm like feeling that way for you, and maybe you don't feel that way, but that's very disrespectful. That is one of the things that I don't like. Whoever you are, I don't like when people tell me how I feel. And so it's really important to have that conversation. The next one is they love you and they don't want you to use that against them. This one is way more common with fearful avoidance. It does happen with dismissive avoidance, but it's more common with fearful avoidance. And I'm going to explain this a little bit. Fearful avoidance have a lot of trauma. And I'm not saying that to say that they're a lost cause. So please don't take it like that. Some of you guys are fearful avoidance. So I don't want you to think I'm saying that. I'm saying that from the adverse childhood experiences, the actual scale of it, they score the highest. And almost always. And that's why their attachment style is it's unique. Some people call it disorganized. Actually, I believe it's cited as disorganized originally. It doesn't matter because the point is we're talking about someone who has both anxious and avoidant tendencies. It's avoidant from the source of it based on research. However, regardless, it still is overall both anxious and avoidant because their childhood was so volatile. They had to learn both maladaptive defense mechanisms. It was adaptive at that time, maladaptive now, right? Adaptive because that's what maladaptive is. It was helpful at one point, no longer, because their childhood was so unpredictable. They had to pick up all of these skills, basically other than secure. And so what happens is they had positive emotions towards something or someone, and it was used against them. It doesn't even have to be love. They could even, like a child might say that their favorite toy was taken away every time that they did something bad, even though it probably wasn't even bad, but maybe their caregiver punished them, took that away. Maybe their favorite food, that was taken away. And this is scary stuff to think about, but it is true. And I'm not going to lie to you. These children are abused, neglected, etc. And so they assume something positive, something's going to use against them or taken away. And so they might think that you might do that. You might throw it at them. Oh, you love me, so you better do this. Oh, if you love me, then how come you're not changing? If you love me, how come you're not giving me all your money, right? They're going to have all these fears because sometimes that happens. I'm your caregiver. How come you're not doing this for me? I'm your mom. You have to do everything. I'm your dad. You have to sacrifice. And so these types of thoughts, it's really common. And the interesting part is it's not, sometimes with dismissive avoidance, a parent might have really high expectations, so this might come up, but the difference is that parent is just verbally saying it. They're not going to do it. If a mom says, I expect a lot from you. I'm your mother. You should do A, B, and C. You should be a lawyer. You should do this, whatever it is. That is more like a dismissive avoidance childhood. But with a fearful avoidant, it's going to be more like, I'm your mother. You should stop talking to all your friends and just talk to me. I'm your father. You should do A, B, and C. And they expect it literally. Like with the dismissive avoidant, they're just saying it to like set you up a certain way just so you can be independent. They're not necessarily expecting that exact scenario. They're just trying to get you to be stronger, right? With fearful avoidance, it's not like that. The parent is actually saying, yes, you better sacrifice all your friends so you can just be with your mother, right? It sounds verbally similar, but it's actually very different in practice. And so that's why this is more common with fearful avoidance. And it's really sad. And I'm sorry if any of you guys have experienced that, because I know some of you guys have. The next one is they're just processing their feelings, and they're actually going to get comfortable with it very soon. And usually it's when they're deciding to commit further. So this is likely not going to be the first stage of being serious. This one is going to be like, I don't know, maybe in year 3 or 4 when they're planning on getting like married to you. They're going to pull back slightly. The pullback in the beginning of the relationship is a pretty big pullback. This one is not so much. It's almost like they're more lighthearted and they're not as emotionally in depth, but it doesn't mean that they're not serious. Sometimes it's just because they're really processing that they do want to be with you. And you're going to see a little bit of a slip up with this one. They might say, like when they say they really want to be with you, they might say our house instead of their house. Like let's say it's their house, right? And you don't live together. They might start calling it our house, our place. They might say our life. They might say like, well, this is our family. This is disrespect to me, even though you guys aren't married yet. They might say those things accidentally in conversations. You're going to see that starts coming up as well if this one is the particular one. You're not going to see that with the first stage because the first stage, they're so overwhelmed they didn't even realize that they loved you. This one is they've known they loved you, but now it's like they want to fully give themselves to you, if that makes sense. So this one will be a little different. It'll be less anxiety provoking because of that, because you'll hear these signs or hints. Whereas the first pull away, you're not going to see those signs. The next one is maybe you're asking for more lately and that pressures them. And so that's why they pull away. Things are getting more serious. You're getting more serious, which is normal. And you're asking for more, whatever it is. You want to go on more dates. You want to be more romantic, etc. Normal. But they feel pressured by it. So with this one, readjust and ask them if it's too much, if they just need to get more comfortable with it, what's going on, and just meet in the middle, right? The last one is that similar to what we were just talking about, but it's not using against them. They correlate falling in love to getting hurt or failure. Okay, so the failure part is a little bit more with dismissive avoidant. Hurt is more with fearful avoidant. It's not that they think you're going to use it against them, but sometimes they just think falling in love means that they're so vulnerable, maybe that they're going to lose control of their life. So with the dismissive avoidance, sometimes they feel, and I actually did feel like this when my feelings were getting more serious with my significant other, I correlated it to me losing control of myself. Like I'm losing my personality or I'm losing who I am supposed to be. Like I might lose like this. It's hard to explain actually. It's like I'm such a structured person. I thought that like me caring about someone was going to ruin that structure, or like it's going to not ruin my life. Please don't take it like that. Like it's going to change the person I am. I'm going to become softer, or I'm not going to have as much time for myself, or like the life I'm supposed to have is not going to happen, right? I'm not going to be that person who's just achieving or independent. I'm going to have like another side of myself. And so it's kind of like that for dismissive avoidance. With the fearful avoidance, sometimes it's like they're falling in love. This means that good things don't last. Things are going to get ruined someday. Everything's going to fall apart. Sometimes fearful avoidance feel it like that. And so it depends. But if that's the case, it's important to let them process it themselves, but also have a conversation with them and let them understand, talk to them about it. And maybe you can help them to some extent. So let's wrap it up. Summarize, and we'll wrap it up. They're overwhelmed with their feelings for you. It's usually in the beginning stages, and sometimes it just takes time. The next one is they feel pressure to give you more, and this is when you don't say anything. So you can have a conversation that pressure is not occurring. They love you, and they don't want you to use it against them. More common with fearful avoidance, they're processing their feelings and they'll get comfortable soon. It's usually when they're deciding to commit further, particularly with like marriage and things like that. So this is going to be like later in the years. The next one is you have been asking for more lately because it's more serious and they feel pressure. So have a conversation, manage that. And the last one is they correlate falling in love with getting hurt, or they're preparing to like lose something or lose some independence, etc. I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.